I made this Mortising table about a year ago, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it like it is, but clamping my workpiece to the fence with F clamps is not working out as well as I'd hoped. Sometimes the front of the piece will lift and sometimes it'll slide. So I've decided to make some modifications to it. I'm going to add some T-tracks on the table for clamps that will use T-bolts, and I'm going to put a taller fence on it and put T-tracks in them too, and use clamps that will hold the workpiece down flat to the table instead of having to clamp them from the front with the F clamps. Another problem with using the F clamps is it's just taking way too much time when I'm doing batch jobs, having to screw the clamps down and unscrew them and make sure the piece is staying in place where it needs to. So this should speed up production a good bit. One other issue I'm having, since I added this over the fence dust hood, my table is a little too short in certain situations because the saw head is wanting to drag on the dust hood. So I'm going to add another layer of MDF to the top of this table, and that will give me more thickness to attach my fence to, rather than attaching the fence to the top. Since it's going to be so tall, I'm going to attach it to the back side. So having two layers of MDF to screw into will make the fence more stable. That's my hope anyway. I don't use a dado blade very often, but since I've got 4 to cut, I went ahead and mounted it up. I used to use the T-track to set the height. I've got it where the depth will be maybe just slightly below, because I don't want the track sticking up above the table. Since I'll probably be putting a lot of pressure on these T-tracks with the clamps, I went ahead and center punched a spot in each one, and I'm going to drill an extra screw hole. Switching bits to make the countersink. Just hope I don't drill all the way through. Right. Before I can mount this to the sliding part of the table, I'm going to have to drill countersinks for the excess part of the bolt and these nuts to slide into so it'll sit flush. Rather than take a chance on misaligning these things, I went ahead and pulled the screws out, and I'm going to mark the holes the way I should have done to start with. Well, for the recesses, I'm using a 1/2 inch Forstner bit. Let's see. And there's the problem with a mini drill press. Let's see, I'll probably drill one more. Get this one for sure. Luckily these are not super critical, so I should be able to use my hand drill if I can get this bit in the chuck. Well, luckily this 1/2 inch Forstner bit has a 3/8 shaft on it, so it does fit the small drill. I guess it wouldn't have killed me to walk out to the work van and get my 1/2 inch chuck drill if I had to. Alright, I believe that got it. Got the T-tracks mounted, bolted down tight. I'm using number 6 by 3/4 bolts, flathead bolts to hold the T-track in. It works out. They work out at just about the right length with the dado cut for the T-track. And the bolts fit in the recesses just fine. I want the back edges to line up flush because I'll be attaching the fence back there, and I want it to be 90 degrees. I'm just going to screw these pieces together so I can take them apart if I need to. Whenever I come back to add the rest of the T-track in, I'll need to take this part back off. So I believe I want to get some clamps and clamp this together before I drill it for the screws. Okay, I believe I want to put 6 screws in here and hold it together. Alright, that feels good, looks good. I'll have to shave those burrs off the back of the table. Now, I've got to figure out how I'm going to support this to mount the fence. I'll probably move over to the workbench, put this in the vise. If you don't have a woodworking vise on your bench, I highly recommend getting one. I went for many years without one, and it's one of the best things I've added to my shop. Get these drilled, get this thing mounted up. And this will be just about it for the table portion. Alright, I'm going to slide this table into the slot. Marvelous. Now, I've got to work on cutting some little blocks for these. Well, my T-bolt showed up today right on time. Wrong size and wrong brand. Amazon says that's what I ordered. I say it's not, but it doesn't really matter if it was my mistake or theirs. They're going back. Right now I'm going to cut blocks for my clamps to mount on, and go ahead and get the clamps mounted up and the holes drilled for the T-bolts. So everything will be ready to go when I get them. Yeah, these are 1-inchers and they are going to be too stinking short. Might be just barely enough for my knob to thread onto, but it's not even biting all the way. In order to get this video done, I went ahead and installed my 1-inch T-bolts. They're way too short. They just barely thread into the knobs, but they'll do for just for the video purposes. Still got to add some pieces of T-track so I can use the full width of the table, but I think you can get the idea of what I've got here. Don't want it too tight, it's not tight enough to hold the board, keep it from moving. Between the 4 clamps, that's not going anywhere. I can do my mortising and without having to worry about the board sliding, and it's not going to be lifting because it's being held down to the table. And I want to use my vertical jig. Fairly easy to reposition these things. Let's see, let's set it up here before I go lock them down. Yeah. That's not going anywhere. mortising. So if I want to mortise a slot across the face, I can either use F-clamp or a squeeze clamp. I think the F-clamps give me a little more clearance. Yeah, with all four of these clamps on there, the vertical jig will be held securely, and when I'm doing horizontal mortises, doing horizontal mortises, you make my cut and the changeover will be quick. Just unclipping more clamps, clipping them back down, as opposed to what I was doing before, screwing and unscrewing F-clamps, multiple F-clamps every time. This should speed up production a bunch, make it more accurate too. Can't beat that. Speed and accuracy. Good and stable. I don't think there's any way I could slide that if I wanted to. So when I'm pushing the board into the bit, there's no chance that the bit will push the board back. So overall, I'm pretty pleased with how this turned out. I'm not going to bother cutting any mortises, as the process is the same as I've got on several other videos. This was just about making this table more useful, easier to use, faster to change work pieces, and even the setup is quicker than with the F-clamps. The taller fence will give me more versatility for different size pieces that I need. Well, I lied. I said I wasn't going to test this out, but I'm kind of itching to use it. So I've got my mortising table clamped to my RAS table and clamped to the fence. My board clamped down, my bit chucked up. I need to redesign my stop blocks. They work great in this configuration, but not so much when I turn the head and work on the left side of the saw. So that's something I'm going to be working on at some point. Alright, let me move the camera over so you can see what's going on. Alright, I got the depth set for about 1/4 to 3/8. I didn't bother measuring it because it's just a test. So it's on. Get the saw blade on. Yeah, that's going to be so much quicker changing over. think that's it.